Hello, beautiful human beings. Thank you so much for dropping by this channel. A warm welcome to anyone who's new to this channel, and a warm welcome back to my subscribers or regular viewers. To anyone who's new, this channel is dedicated to helping people learn the difference between authentic non-duality, Advaita Vedanta, and fake non-duality, Neo-Advaita. There's all sorts of information about that on my web page, which you can see to the right of your screen or below. You'll see a link for it. I'm a little congested today. The pollen is out and about, so I may be coughing a bit. And I may cry, and that's not going to be the pollen. I just got a letter that I can so relate to. This person wrote, "Just waking up to it. Hello, my dear fellow human beings. I feel like I caught the disease of Neo-Advaita. It's funny because 1 year ago or so, I told a dear friend that I will never get caught up in a cult." Famous last words. I said them too. I guess that's what people say when they get caught up in cults. Like your sense of humor. I really did not realize that I have a problem with that. I saw I have a problem, but I thought I just need to inquire more. I watched your YouTube videos and I felt a great urge to say thank you. It caused a little crack in the thick wall, and some long forgotten feelings were able to come in. So my greatest gratitude to you. I'm deeply disgusted by this world. This drew me into Neo-Advaita because I could just dissociate from this world I don't want to be a part of. But seeing that it's the wrong direction, maybe one could say, what am I to do? Maybe someone can relate to that. Also, I love Sri Ramana Maharshi, but I feel I cannot see him clearly because my eyes are polluted by Neo-Advaita. Can anyone share what impact Neo-Advaita and the letting go of it had on your spiritual path? Thank you so much to this person. What a post. Thank you. Where to begin? Just I want to say thank you. Thank you for expressing yourself so deeply and clearly. So I'll just kind of go through, well, that's what I normally do. I just kind of go through right from the start, but this letter just touched me so deeply because I use Neo-Advaita to run away from the world. Not so much to run away from the world, but to run away from my pain. It didn't work, and it made my pain worse. So that's the first thing I'll say is I can really relate to that sense of, and the truth is the pain was so deep that I wanted to die. And there've been periods in my life where I was suicidal. And although I think I wanted to die for quite some time, but Neo-Advaita really made that like 10 times worse. It would give me short-term relief from the pain, from my sort of emotional pain. And then, of course, the wanting to die, wanting to leave this world, or even feeling suicidal is very painful. So then Neo-Advaita would give me relief from that, temporary relief from that. And then things would get worse. So I can really relate. So you ask what to do. And that's really the $10 million question, because you've seen that Neo-Advaita doesn't work. So what to do? Well, actually, I'm going to read to you a welcome that's on my website. A warm welcome and an invitation to be gentle. The whole phenomenon of Neo-Advaita is complex with many nuances and subtleties, yet its impact can be profound. Neo-Advaita teachers often engage in teaching tactics that are manipulative, cult-like, and can border on brainwashing. Disillusionment, loss of faith, hopelessness, feeling alone, feeling completely lost, and broken beyond repair are a few common symptoms of being deeply impacted by Neo-Advaita. Neo-Advaita impacts different people differently. For some, it is something that once they see the lunacy of it, they were able to leave it behind and get on with their lives. That wasn't me, but some people. For some, it is a process of letting go that can take time and effort. And for some, it can be an intense process that can take a lot of time and effort. Wherever on the spectrum you find yourself, welcome to the journey back to your full self. Welcome to the home of your tender heart, and welcome to a community of tender hearts. The thing is, recovering from a cult is not a simple thing. And Neo-Advaita adds many layers to that. That can make it even more complex. So the first thing I would say to you is, or to anyone seeking to recover from Neo-Advaita, is like, be gentle with yourself and give yourself some time and space. Like, it sounds like you went pretty far down the rabbit hole, and I went far down the rabbit hole, and it's been a process. It's been a process for me. It still is a process. On my website, there's at the very top, it says how to recover. I've created a model or a map based on my own experience, based on working with other people, based on talking to people. And it's a draft of a map. It's just a beginning. So I invite you to take a look at that. And see if that's helpful. You know, I love Ramana Maharshi too. And my vision of him was very clouded. And let me see here. Yeah, there's something else I want to share with you. But where is it? Anyway, I wrote something about Ramana Maharshi that, you know, my vision of him was very clouded myself. I used to think, oh, he just sat around doing nothing, saying non-dual slogans all day. Nothing could be further from the truth. He was an actor. He would act out Indian epics using different voices and mannerisms. He was a comedian. He joked around a lot. He was very playful. He was a mountaineer. He said that he walked over every inch of Arunachala, the sacred mountain. He was a poet. He wrote love poems to God as if he was a bride yearning for God. His, Ramana is the bride yearning for her groom, being like, where are you? I can't live without you. Writing this poetic love poem to God. He was a scholar. He translated. He helped the translation of numerous texts. He was kind and compassionate, and he was like the best of a human being, like the best. He wasn't a fucking statue and robot like the Neo-Advaita teachers would have us believe. He was unspeakably gentle, unspeakably humble. He insisted that he be fed last when they would give out food, as mealtime. In Indian tradition, you give the guru the food first, and he insisted that he be fed last, that all the visitors be fed first. very humble, unassuming. Like one time he was in the middle of a talk. He was like answering a question. He didn't give talks. He was answering a question. And one of the devotees walked into the satsang room and turned on a radio very loudly. And Ramana just paused and waited like 30, 40 minutes. And then the devotee turned off the radio, got up and left. And then Ramana just continued his talk. Try that in a Neo-Advaita satsang. The teacher would flip out. I mean, Ramana was so wise. He would advise people on karma yoga, bhakti yoga, kundalini, traditional kundalini yoga, yana yoga. You know, he would talk to people about their family, about their business problems. Like what can you say about Ramana Maharshi? So I love him too. And you ask what to do. So personally, so the first part of my journey with Neo-Advaita was recognizing that it was false, but it's a long story. But a significant part was just being like, I'm done with Neo-Advaita. So then I began to study traditional Advaita. And then when I studied it and tried to practice it, I was like, you know what? This just isn't me. Like, this doesn't match me. So what to do? Start. One idea is to, and this isn't directed just to the person who wrote this letter, but to anyone on this path of recovery from Neo-Advaita, is check out some traditional Advaita. I've got some resources on my webpage that have links to traditional Advaita teachers. Maybe traditional Advaita is for you. It wasn't for me. But, you know, love is an amazing thing. And Sanatana Dharma, the underlying philosophy of Hinduism, is basically based in love. So if you love Ramana, that, bhakti, devotion, the path of devotion may be calling you. In about something like 2016, I was like, I need to focus on bhakti. Maybe it was even earlier, like 2015. But here it is 2023, and I'm finally doing it. So a simple way to focus on bhakti is to do kirtan, to sing devotional songs. Kirtan has been something I just cherish, and I finally have really committed to doing it. I do it every day now. It really just brings happiness, and interestingly enough, it brings the same fruits without the dissociation that non-dual meditation brings. So, hi to my live viewers. Feel free to share any comments, questions, or feedback. So, the person wrote, I saw that I had a problem, but I thought I just need to inquire more. And so that's one of the lies that Neo-Advaita is based on, that self-inquiry will fix all problems. Nothing can be further from the truth. Self-inquiry is designed for people who have reached a very high state, not state, kind of state. Neo-Advaita, self-inquiry is like the final stage of a journey. And Neo-Advaita skips all the preparatory stages. It's one of the deepest lies of Neo-Advaita that self-inquiry will fix all your problems. It's just simply not true. If you want to learn more about that, you can read up on the gunas, Gunas. And so self-inquiry is designed for someone who has a sattvic mind. Self-inquiry won't take care of rajas and tamas guna. In fact, it'll make them worse, which I experienced, and it sounds like you experienced. I'm very touched by the appreciation. I watched your YouTube videos and felt a great urge to say thank you. You're welcome, and thank you. you know, I started this channel because I was on a mission to expose one Neo-Advaita teacher. And then that mission changed to like, I'm going to expose Neo-Advaita in general. But really what this channel has become is it's part of my healing process. And yes, it is a form of service. People tell me it's really helpful. But a big reason I do this is for my own healing, because Neo-Advaita is a tangled web of lies and delusions. And I personally, I'm just pulling back the layers and getting letters like yours and responding to comments. It helps me peel back. So, hey, Em, I'll get to your comments in a minute. Thanks for posting them. So, someone caused a crack in my wall. It's interesting. I need to reach out to them and say thank you. So, some long forgotten feelings were able to come in. That's the way. Neo-Advaita just dissociates us from everything. And I'm so glad. I'm so grateful. Let's see if there's anything else I want to say. So the difference between Ramana Maharshi and a Neo-Advaita teacher is Ramana would just meet people where they are. Like, I don't think Ramana would have told me to inquire. Like, he would have taken one look at me and been like, do some bhakti, do some seva, service, do some devotion, do some service. He seemed to be able to intuitively know where people were at and what they needed, as any true teacher is able to do and does. Neo-Advaita is a formula. So you're breaking out of a formula. That's what cults are. They're a formula. They try and squeeze all of us into a formula and be like, this is the only formula. So you're just breaking out of a formula. I say just, it can be a bit of a process. So deeply, deeply grateful for your letter. Thank you. M wrote, I need to write some essays about panpsychism and monism. Panpsychism I haven't heard of. Monism, hold on one second, I'll look up panpsychism. Oh, cool. Panpsychism is the view that all things have a mind or a mind-like quality. That's cool. Monism. I've heard different definitions. I'm just going to let Google give me a definition. Monism, a theory or doctrine that denies the existence of a distinction or duality in some sphere, such as between matter and mind, God and the world. So monism, that's what I thought, but I just want to make sure. So monism is just basically another word for non-duality in a sense. If you feel called to do it, do it. Actually, this person said, well, what do I do? What I would advise you to do, what saved my ass, is follow inspiration. Like, what are you inspired to do? Like, to the person, like, you say you love Ramana, then read some books about Ramana that aren't philosophy. Like, there's some really good books about Ramana where people tell stories about what it was like to be around Ramana. And, like, I think there's one called like Devotees Remember. Like, let go of the philosophy and just like love Ramana. It's considered a classical practice to love a guru. So I invite you to follow that. And M, if you feel inspired to write these, and thank you for your comments, M, then do it. So M wrote, any recommendations or thoughts how it relates to Advaita Vedanta or perhaps Vishishta Advaita? So, I haven't looked at, so I've heard people use the word monism to describe non-duality. So I'm going to take a quick peek. God bless Wikipedia. So So the thing about monism, just taking a quick peek, is there's many different varieties of it. So again, I'm not an expert. Monism is like, a Western philosophical term. I would say that Advaita Vedanta is one kind of monism. And taking a quick peek at the Wikipedia article, there's different monism is like in Western philosophy, monism is like a trend of philosophy. And so like there's all these different varieties of monism. So well, that's cool. Rupert Sheldrake wrote about it. I've heard of him, heard a little bit about him. So if you want to write about monism and Advaita Vedanta, then just you probably wouldn't be the first, but go for it. Go for it. And now Vashishta Advaita, that's where things get interesting. So for those who aren't familiar, so you'll notice there's this Vashishta Advaita has the phrase Advaita in it. Okay, so Advaita. I've heard people translate Vashishta Advaita as qualified monism. So Vashishta Advaita, unlike Advaita, says that there is some distinction between creator and creation. So Vashishta Advaita isn't pure monism because it says there is some distinction. That's why it's called qualified monism or qualified non-duality. So personally, that's the philosophy I've come to believe in, but also that just works better for me. Advaita or just pure monism just doesn't really make sense to me. I can't say it's not true. What I can say is it doesn't, I don't do well with it. So I stick to Vashishta Advaita or Achinta Beta Beta, which is another school of Vedanta. So Advaita and Vashishta Advaita, they have some things in common, but they also disagree on a number of things. So what else do I want to say? I don't want to say so much more. I'm more familiar with Achinta Beta Beta, which is very similar to Vashishta Advaita. But, one way to think about it is Advaita says that God is everything, whereas Vashishta Advaita or Achinta Beta Beta would say God is in everything or everything is a part of God, yet God is above. So here you go. Here's the most important thing, I think, for me. The most important thing has to do with relationship. In Advaita, it doesn't really make sense to have a relationship with God because ultimately there's no distinction. Whereas Vashishta Advaita, and I can't speak to the other types of monism, but maybe not, but Vashishta Advaita or Achinta Beta Beta, it's all about relationship. Yes, like we're intimately connected to, yet God is the supreme, is distinct and above. So there's room for a relationship. And now I've gotten a little philosophical. So to the original person who wrote this, you started off your letter by saying just waking up to it. It can be painful. When I first woke up, I was pissed. I mean, I knew for a while that that Neo-Advaita was not true, but I was so hooked into it. And I knew it was harmful for me, but I was so hooked into it. But I finally was like, this is bullshit. I was pretty angry, but that's actually a good thing, because anger sometimes is necessary. It's not something to stay into. It's not something that's, in my view, healthy to stay in. But it can be an essential part of the process, especially in setting boundaries. And I'm to the place now where, see, I have this fire within me of like, no to Neo-Advaita. So as soon as I start to even sniff it, whether I'm reading something, whether someone's talking, it just, I'm just like, no. In the 80s, they had this thing to with this campaign to try and decrease drug use, and they had the slogan, just say no. And that's how I am with Neo-Advaita. I have zero tolerance. I won't listen to or read any Neo-Advaita. And if someone wants to talk about Neo-Advaita concepts, I'm just like, look, you can think that, but I'm like, I refuse. Like, I was talking to someone and they're like, the story, they said something like, we can, we're just stories, but we can share our stories. And I'm like, it's okay with me if you think you're a story. It's okay if you think I'm a story, but I don't. I think I'm real. And so some of us struggle to set boundaries and to be some of us are too nice. I'm certainly that way. And so that anger, that fire, can be needed for a while until it isn't. Now I'm mostly not angry. Yeah, every now and then a little bit of anger, but mostly now I'm not angry at Neo-Advaita or any particular Neo-Advaita teachers, because I have this like firm boundary. I don't even know, like, you'd have to pay me a lot of money to watch a Neo-Advaita video, like 5 minutes of it. You'd have to probably pay me a lot of money because I just won't do it. And M asks, what do you think about idealism? I'm not sure what it is. I mean, I've heard the phrase before. I think the phrase is that everything's an idea. And to that, I'm just going to, if my definition is accurate, I'm like, no, thank you. Like, see, philosophy, abstract philosophy, and philosophy that denied the reality of the world got me in a lot of trouble. And I also just don't believe it's true. But, who knows? Maybe I'm not enlightened enough. But I'll tell you what. So I have yet to meet. I met one Neo-Advaita teacher who teaches everything's an illusion, and I think they mostly live by it. But most of the Neo-Advaita teachers who teach the world's an illusion, they don't live by it. They're heavily attached to the world. And this Neo-Advaita teacher still has some pretty clear attachments, but they're pretty. But anyway, so the thing is anyone can say anything. Yeah, like everything is mental. Like I'm just not interested. I'm not that takes me down a dangerous road. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm not saying you shouldn't or someone else shouldn't look at it. Someone who's trying to recover from Neo-Advaita, I would say it's a very bad idea to investigate that philosophy. That's my opinion. As someone who's made some progress, like I'm about being in my body, like being a human being that yes has uh, still cultivate spiritual awakeness. Not that I think I am my body, but living life, learning how to live life harmoniously, and things like that, like just dissociate me. So um, it's not for me to tell anyone else what to do, but for someone who's struggling, and Emma, I don't know, where you are with all this, but um, what I can say is the idea that everything is mental is dangerous for me. That much I can say is true. So I don't like I'm I'm here to grow spiritually and to learn how to be a better human being and to do service and to take exquisite care of myself on all levels and do service, take care of my cat, be a, be a good cat dad. And ideas like that are very dangerous for me. They would interfere with all those goals. Would you say the fundamental nature of reality is probably non-conscious? No, no, I wouldn't say that at all. I'd say the fundamental nature, my belief, this is what I've come to. My personal belief is the fundamental nature of reality is goodness, is love, is aliveness, is creativity, and limitless energy and power. Yeah, that's my view, but and see, that's the thing is Neo-Advaita basically defines God, defines the fundamental nature of reality as emptiness. Generally, what they'll say is empty consciousness. Basically, just this empty cloud that just does nothing and is floating around is a very harmful definition of the fundamental nature of reality. So, what I just shared is what I've come to through my studies, my personal experiences, but maybe most importantly, what works for me. Um, an idea can be true yet harmful to an individual. See that? Yeah, it's a very interesting idea, but an idea can be true yet harmful. And so, see, I get sick to my stomach. I'm about to say, well, maybe everything is mental. And I just feel like I just feel sick to my stomach. So, ugh, ugh. Um, so whether even I don't think that's true. And if it is true, it isn't helpful for me. That's the thing. That's what differentiates Ramana Maharshi, a real teacher, from a fake teacher. Uh, is a fake teacher doesn't care what's helpful for the student. They care about converting people. They're preachers. A bad guru is a preacher. They're trying to convert you. They don't care what's good for you. They think what's good for you is getting you to believe what they believe. So, wow, 34 minutes. Time flies when you're dissecting Neo-Advaita. All right, beautiful souls. You used to listen to that Neo-Advaita teacher. Yep. So, once again, I've posted a map for what I believe is the way to recover from Neo-Advaita. a way, a set of principles that have worked for me. And it's a work in progress. I won't even say that I believe it. I'm working on a map, and my current best rough draft is on my website under How to Recover. And thank you so much for everyone who took the time to watch this. Thank you for the person who wrote this, M. Beautiful comments and questions. Thank you. I hope you didn't take any of my statements as attacking you. I didn't feel that way at all. I just share on this channel. I try to share what is authentic non-duality, what is and what differentiates it from fake non-duality, and what works and doesn't work for me in my process of overcoming it. Thank you, beautiful souls. Have a blessed Neo-Advaita free day. Take care.